Once again, thanks for joining, guys. I'm here with Simon over at the South Bay office.
Good afternoon.
Hello,
How are you?
Hello. We're going to talk today about the DISC, the DISC assessment, and everything that evolves around it. We use the DISC on a regular basis when it comes to actually in a few different ways, basically. Number one is as a self-assessment. We'll expand more about that as well, so you understand exactly where we're coming from based on our experience. So self-assessment, and then the other part is when it comes to understand the psychology of the consumer, buyers, sellers, etc. And lastly is, if you are looking to, grow a team or grow into working with other people successfully, you don't have to have your own team of people in sales, for example, but just to understand how to handle people's behavior, characters, or styles. That's definitely a powerful tool. And just to share with you, when I joined KW, I've done many assessments before, like personally in life, right? Different shapes, different forms. But the DISC was the first one really that gave me a different insight about my own approach, my own like natural style, if you may, or behavioral style, my strength and weaknesses, and if I wish to adopt them or understand them better. And with full certainty and confidence, I can tell you that once I understood the concept of it, and I embraced, right, what I'm really strong at, and I understood what I'm not as strong at, it changed completely my dynamic and my approach to business and to life as well. So let's jump into it, and me and Simon are just going to have fun with this, and we're going to brainstorm and what have you between the two of us, right, about how to go about the DISC, understand personalities, how it can help you, or all the good stuff, right? And just FYI, this we're gonna record this session.
It's not allowing us to go on Facebook Live, so we're going to record the session, folks.
Yes, and then Kim, we'll talk later. I think I figured out what the issue was, but I just had like last minute. I'm like, I'm not going to do it right now. Keep everybody waiting, but I think I know what the issue is. Zoom always changing, and Facebook always changing. How to whatever's friendly app or not. So, anyways, let's do this right now. Share this screen once again. All right, let's do it. So the DISC, okay? It's not copyrighted. There was this really cool, smart guy, William Marston, and a psychologist, and he came up with that concept right back, about 100 years ago. We should have celebrated the DISC last year. Well, right. We were busy last year with pandemic, but it's about 100 years for the DISC, the concept of what it is, right? So, but since then there was tons of different evolutions of how to go about it, but powerful tool, right? And basically what it tells you that there are four elements, right, for the DISC, and it stands for the DISC, right? The D stands for direct. It's a mix of a direct, the D stands for dominance, right? It's a mix in the spectrum, as you can see. It's a mix of a direct and introvert personality. Direct and introvert personality. The I stands for influence. It's a mix of a direct and extrovert personality. Okay, direct and extrovert personality. The S, bottom right, the S stands for steadiness, right? And it's someone who is an extrovert and indirect. personality, right? And the C stands for consciousness, right? Or compliance. Someone who is introvert and indirect, right? So S is extrovert and indirect. C is introvert and indirect, right? And we're gonna dive down into each personality, and feel free, guys, if you wanna type in, or if you have any questions, type in the chat, or if you wanna unmute yourself right here, right now watching on Zoom. So feel free to jump and ask me questions. Okay, so another nice visual, and we are gonna send a follow-up email to the offices later today with the copy of this presentation, so you can just dive deeper into that and understand and do your own research. And of course, we can also give you access. You can either go online and do your own free disc assessment, whatever. There are tons of tools out there. We personally, our companies, we're using the version or one of the companies owned by Tony Robbins. If you don't know who Tony Robbins is a great speaker, motivational speaker, business coach, and a self-made billionaire with a B. Very smart individual. So definitely utilizing that product of his, and it's almost 50-page in-depth analysis of who you are, right? Super powerful. That's the disc. So definitely reach out to us, email your TL or myself, Meny, MENY @kw.com, and say, hey, can I take the disc assessment, and we're going to send it to you. But that's kind of just an overview of the disc. But all is good.
All is good.
All is great. Okay, things are good things are happening over here in South Bay today.
Yes.
So let's just dive deep into each personality. We're going to analyze it. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to laugh at each personality. We're going to judge it. No, I'm just kidding. We'll understand what it is and understand how to deal with it. After the sequence, you should be able to guess what is my disc, what is Simon's disc, and maybe what's your disc, right?
I already know what Meny's disc is.
Well, of course of course but they don't know yet.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk about the D, right? D stands for dominance, right? The driver. Go now. Let's what's next, right? The emphasis is about basically the outcome, the results, right? How to overcome objections. A lead sentence, right, or key sentence is, what's the bottom line, right? As you can see, there's different styles over here. It says driven, direct, decisive, etc. And the goals of a deep personality, like when you're talking to someone and it come across, right, when the person keeps talking about, hey, what's the bottom line, right? Or someone who want to keep going and winning and the competition and get results, right? That's a D right there, right? Now, of course, you will see here in the middle of the screen, their styles. It's very rare, right? When you get to disc results, most people lead by two elements, right?
Correct.
Two letters or two characters of a behavioral style consisted by the disc, the DISC, right? It's rare, or I haven't seen any of those, to have someone that has only one really high element. We're going to show examples in a few minutes of a graph, how it looks like, and the rest are really, really low. Usually a mix of two, sometimes even three. That can happen too, right? So as you can see, there's going to be another element thrown into the mix to balance out that individual, the character. Otherwise, it's going to be like too extreme to whatever the behavioral profile will be, right? So when I'm describing this, you can also think for a second about who do I know that can have those kind of characters or behavioral attributes. Or in addition, maybe a buyer or a seller you're working with, etc., right? Someone like in your environment. And the cool thing is that once you understand their behavior, then you will understand how they function, how they're wired, how they go about things. So instead of us judging one another, oh my God, this she's intense, or oh my God, he's too analytical into the paragraph 14b, d, whatever. Well, that's how people are just wired, right? So when we understand one another better through the disc, for example, even if they don't take the disc, but we can understand where they're coming from, it helps to respect one another better, but also for you guys to be better professionals because you have better way to connect. So just to finish with the deep part is, what's the best way to communicate, right? Is you're sitting at a table and she's all about the pictures and the family stories and what have you, and he's okay, Ed, great, thank you. What's the bottom line? Like what's the commission again, or whatever it is, right? Like when can we start, or this is a D that you're talking to, right? So give them the bottom line. Okay, be brief, like to the point, be direct, speak up, and you just stay focused based on how they focused, right? And just I guess bottom line is the best recommendation I can give, right? So talking about the D, Simon, right? Did you ever run into a D personality?
Absolutely. I'm going to give you a perspective to what I conclude to be a D. Consider yourself at a sidewalk, right? Waiting for the light. You see the light that is red, yellow, and green, right? But then you have that push button, and that push button allows you the time to allow the signal to turn green, or give you the authorization to cross, right? To cross the street to get to the next level. A D will analyze the situation regardless if it's on green, yellow, or red. And let's just say it's on red. A D driver would say, well, you know what, my goal and my accomplishment is to get to where I need to go as fast and efficient as possible. So they're going to blow through that, not taking into consideration that they need to wait, like we traditionally do, like, the I's and the C's and the S's, where, the C's will actually push the button and wait until the time turns 0, and then it turns green and allows you to walk the street to get to the other side of the street. A driver, or a D in my example, is it doesn't matter what their no is, they need to get to point Z as fast and efficient as possible. So they're going to blow that light and say, I got to get to where I need to get. That's how I interpret a D.
100%. So talking about that, we have to keep going, Simon. let's keep going, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good examples. Thank you for sharing. The next one is the I, influential, extrovert, right? That's someone that and you will know where you're gonna come across with an I, because the I use a lot of the I word as well, like I am this, I am that. They'll be out there. That you see that most salespeople have the I part of their behavioral characters technically, and that's just comes with us being extrovert and communicating with anybody and everybody, right? So the I will take over the room in a sense of like presence, dominance of not by the D, but dominance of just appearance, right? They can talk to everybody, anybody, even out in the public, right? They're once again an extrovert personality. Like to talk a lot about themselves, right? In a sense of like to share, right? Dealing with someone who's an I buyer, right? Who else lives there? What kind of community, right? About the schools, like who goes to the schools, not just in a sense of like quality schools for the kids, but in a sense of like who else is in it with us, right? And just the use of the word I a lot, right? So if you're gonna sit on the table on a listening appointment with high I, someone who has a high I, they'll talk a lot about, once again, their experiences and what they're going through and what's important to them, and the stories about whatever. So it's usually the easiest once again, assuming that you also have the I, or if you understand the disc or understanding personalities, the high I's are the easiest to communicate with, to bond with, because once again, they will try to find the common ground between you and them just to share that experience, because they want to express themselves, they want to share the story, they want to tell whatever that is, right? And like you can see also here a combination, right, that kind of helps to understand. Maybe it's going to be easier to understand like after we're going to finish the entire sequence, but someone who's an ID, we spoke about the D, spoke about the I, right? Someone who's an ID, they're leading by action, enthusiasm, and results, right? If it was just the D, just drop the enthusiasm, just action and results, right? It's more like the introvert part. When you add in the I, the extrovert, the enthusiasm kicks in as well, right? So just for you to understand, if you're running into that kind of personalities, that's exactly this person must be whatever. Now, if it's like you're gonna connect and bond right away naturally. If it's not like you'll understand, you'll understand where they're coming from, and you'll be able to, once again, level yourself or adjust yourself to the proper way of communication, right? Someone who's IS, we didn't get to the S yet, but it's more of the collaboration part, enthusiasm, that's definitely an I, and support, maybe that's an S, right? Ways to communicate with a high I, right? Share your experiences, allow them to ask a question, to talk, to express themselves, focus on whatever is positive. It can be tricky sometimes, right? Because some even high I can focus on the negative. It's not like the high I are high on being positive, but just focus on what's right. Not too many details, right? The more into just the story and the experience versus the let's plan and focus on the fine print.
These are what we call people that are impatient. People that are impatient needs to know like now, can't wait till tomorrow. They need to know exactly now. These are people also that establish, the presence of influencers, people that influence people as well. So those are key elements in the position of I, as Meny was mentioning. So, so if you have those characteristics of an I, there you go. You're an influencer, in our opinion, based on the assessment.
Yeah, and you'll come across quite often with ID or high ID personalities, especially in sales. Right? Is the enthusiasm, the ability to network, to communicate with everybody, anybody. At the same time, someone who's very competitive. She's driven, right? Want to get things done. In most cases, but not just, right? Success measured by the actions that you take and the results that you bring. And any personality can get results in high level, right? Regardless to the disc. Next one on the list is the S. Stands for steadiness, right? That's the extrovert and indirect, right? Indirect extrovert. That's the person that it's all about the team, the task, the goal, the reason, not the goal, the reason that we do this. It's gonna happen for a reason, for a cause, right? High S will ask, about the community, about the giving back, about charity, about maybe in some elements, doesn't have to be an S, but about the element of like, is it harmful in any way? Right? Are we doing the right thing? They don't want to damage anything, and they want to make sure that their action is going to be satisfying, either or pleasing something else or someone else, individual or a group, right? You will hear a lot of like expression that I feel like, right? In that sense, right? Of how they express themselves. High S is the person that they're going to sit in a listing appointment and they're going to talk about the pictures around the house, of the family pictures, or the album, right? Story about like a trip or what have you, but more of a family versus I did this and I did that, the high I, right? It's more about the community and the group, right? And they will come across as someone who's calm, patient, right? Stable, warm, to some extent predictable, because once again they're fond of patterns versus like on random spontaneous things, right? And then when when you're dealing with an individual with high S personality, you want to acknowledge their, once again, their sense of security. You want to help to others, loyalty, right? Consistency, by any means. And like mix of personalities. We spoke about like the IS, for example, right? Collaboration, support. That's an S personality. Enthusiasm because of the I. And if it's someone like a CS, right? It's also like a common combination of these personalities: stability, support, accuracy. Accuracy is more of the C, right? So support is something that is definitely vital part of the S personality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what Meny is stating, steadiness is very important because it's the self-sufficient, it's the independent aspect of an agent or an individual. On top of it, it's the when I think of an S personality, I think enthusiastic, I think high energy, I think inspirational people, and in this line of work that we do, what's called real estate, you have to have a little bit of that, but knowing that these different characteristics will give you a foundation, but more so an understanding and how to mesh and have conversation with different types of personalities.
100%. And when it comes to the S, a few more things that are important to understand. The S personality will need more assurances as well, okay, to how you feel about them. The high I, not as much. It's more for them. They are extrovert, right? But it's more about if you and I can communicate and hit it off and tell stories and whatever and hang out. That's how the high I will mesh with you, will connect with you really well, right? If you're giving me the bottom line, straight to the point, let's get, hey, let's just make it work. That's the D. The S, I need a little bit more confirmation, right? That I'm doing fine, I'm doing okay. Give me some assurances in that sense, right? You don't want to be too much in their face, too much aggressive or what have you. Remember, those guys are more of a teamwork, team-oriented, here for the team, let's do it together, versus the competition and the aggressiveness. So be more calm and more stable in that sense with someone who has a high S, right? The last part is the C, consciousness, right? That's the introvert, indirect, right? That's the CPAs in the room, right? The engineers, the left brain individuals, right? So high C, they're always doubting, they're always questioning everything, right? Even if it's like it's a fact, it's like, okay, but how did you come up with that phrase, or with that formula, or with those numbers? Why are you charging 5%? Can you break it out 2.5% without the brokerage? Why? Like, is that customary? Paragraph 14b, third line item, the letter, the fifth letter. Why is it there? Right? They're going to question everything. They're going to drive you bananas. They're going to drive you crazy. Why? Because that's how they're wired. Right? That's how they're wired. Right. Now, another thing about C, they're extremely, because they're very conscious, they self-critical about themselves as well. Correct. Right? Yeah. So one thing for you to understand, that the high C sometimes will come across and will express their opinion and what have you, not because they want to offend anybody, just because they want to make sure that they will not make any mistakes. They're very analytical, they're very systematic, very accurate, and they just want to make sure that whatever they will do will not damage anybody or will not damage their reputation as well. That's, for them, it's the biggest issue.
And these are people that double check, triple check, quadruple check, and they're still not completely satisfied. As Meny was saying, your accountants, doing numbers. These are people that actually are very analytic, very analytic. You know, they cross their T's, they check their I's, they read it and read it 4 or 5 times, and they still question, you know, is this correct? Because I read it one way, how do you interpret it? And when you interpret it one way, then they go and ask someone else, well, what's your take and what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, you know, the high C in the room, I mean, here's the funny thing, right? If you kind of, once again, like kind of remember the breakdown, right? The rundown of the DISC, every personality is crucial to how we communicate and how we make things work and what have you, right? Like you always want to have high I in the room, or let's say part of your team. Let's just make it like even like easier, right? Or in a high S, in a high C, and a high D. Like if you have all those elements in one part of a team, you guys are gonna go places for sure, right? On the other hand, you want to understand those personalities and what drive those guys, just to make sure that you can communicate with them properly, right? So just to put a closure on the high C, that's someone that, you know, like you're small talks doesn't really, you know, go well with the high C, right? It's more of also the bottom line, but not bottom line brief and you move on, right? Like, oh, trust me, you move on. No, high C will not trust you, right? It's not about trust. It's about proof and about the facts. Thank you, right? So go to the bottom line, but with facts, and be patient, be respectful, right? That's just how they are wired, right? So same thing, if you look at the styles, right? CD, driven by challenge, accuracy, results, right? CS, stability, accuracy, support. So it's really an interesting mix of personalities or individuals, how they go about, looking at things, analyzing, etc. Right? And a few more things just about the assessment. If you are, as I mentioned, you can go online, just Google search free DISC assessment, and you can, you can find, very different various, the tests that have been online at no cost, etc. Ours doesn't cost anything as well, but it's a more thorough, like we pay for it, like as an office for offices. They're about, almost 50 pages and they're very deep. And here's an example of the DISC, right? Like someone's DISC, basically, you got 2 styles. That's what are you gonna get from us? You won't get it online. Or maybe you do some of them online, but not really like that. Usually you got the adapted and natural styles. Natural style is how you naturally are wired, behaving, what drives you, etc. Adapted based on your, the more sincere you are to answer the questions, the better result or more accurate result it's going to give you. It's not a pass or fail assessment. It's not a test. It's just like it's assessing your behavior. The adapted is how you adapt to a working environment, right? So it kind of gives you a bit of a picture. So on the left-hand side, this example, this individual, she is a high SI. SI, you see it's above the line, leading by those two elements. And look on the left-hand side, this individual in the work environment, for whatever reason, she pushes her C above the line. Okay, that's interesting. And I'll give you an example, right? So if this individual leading by the SI, she's an SI, you would know she's an extrovert, fun to talk to, easy to communicate with, right? But also about hey, so tell me more about you, Luisa. How was your day? What's going on? Tell me more about this and about that, or whatever it is, right? Not just about me, right? The high I. So you can understand how they collaborate. They're going to be patient, as well as they're going to engage with in the conversation versus just being passive, just on the S personality, right? So that's a fun person kind of just to chit chat with, right? Back and forth. The C, there's some of a C over there, right? So this person might be, self-judging to a certain extent, not too much, but look at the left-hand side, the work environment, for whatever reason, might be stress, might be specific role that they're taking, or some pressure they're under if it's in personal life, or whatever is going like around the work environment. They have to push the C much higher, make sure they're not making mistakes. Okay, they have to be the planner. They have to pay attention to what's going on around them, once again, for whatever reason. So, and that's how you can understand also, like when we're hiring people to our teams and in offices, etc., we understand the difference and understand like, hey, how does this person function naturally and how he will function in a different environment. So that's how we can put a great fit of individuals to a role versus to force someone to act in a specific way as however we think they should act. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. On the right-hand side, different example, right? Look on the right-hand side. This individual, he's a high CS, right? There's also the D over there trying to kind of break through. So it's a fast-moving person and getting results done, but also like always kind of looking around to say, hey, it's the team. Very introvert individual relatively because there's no I, the yellow one. On the left-hand side, you see it's pretty much almost the same thing. This individual kicks the C much higher while pushing the teamwork a bit lower because this individual, might be working maybe it's a desk job, right? Maybe it's more of a like behind the scenes role, etc. So there's not as much involvement with people around this individual, so they have to make things happen properly, right? So any questions you guys might have? Any questions? Anybody? Meet yourself or type in your questions if you have any questions. Not everybody together, one after another. Okay. Well, cool. I mean, that was short and sweet. As I mentioned, you guys can just go online and do a free self-assessment to reach out to us, right? And we're gonna send you one, the more in-depth one that covers a lot of areas, and we're gonna sit with you as well. The team that are gonna sit with you, do those assessments. A question from Alexandra. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. So interesting to think how to relate to them and then how you normally connect versus how they communicate and meet them at their level. So I'm not sure if it's just like a thought, Alexandra, or if you ask me a question, but here's what I can tell you, right? You have to start from with yourself first. Take the disc, understand who you are, how you wired, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, right? Like whatever is high is the strong, whatever is the low is you're not leading by it, or call it weaknesses, call it whatever you want, doesn't really matter. My point is when you accept yourself, right, as you are, not to say that an assessment will tell the world or yourself exactly who you are, but let me tell you something, it's very close to reality. It's even scary to a certain extent. And I've done not just myself, like with other people, assessments, probably a few hundreds, and I've never come across with 2 exact assessments in the past. All those years I've been with KW, right? So it's a very interesting sign. So understand yourself first, who you are. And after you understand yourself and you understand the sense of the disc, then you know how to, yes, meet in the middle. Because it's not about, winning my way, is to winning everybody's way. So if right now, let's say you're meeting someone, right? And they're very different than you. Let's say that you, for example, you're a DI and you're meeting with someone who's thinking about listing the house, right, or a buyer, and they're an SC. High chances that you're going to suffer in that process of working with this individual because they're not like you. They're wired differently. They're faster, slower, or more analytical, or more earthy, whatever that is, the opposite from you, for example. So if you are going for the win, meaning understand where they're coming from and level yourself to their needs in order to help them to go where they want to go eventually, and then you're going to gain from this, that's a win-win. You agree?
I agree 100%. And just to add to what Meny was saying, the whole purpose of allowing you is to do your own personal assessment of yourself, to understand where you fall under these 4 different categories. Why? Because once you know your personal assessment, now you can gauge every different elements of the assessment. Who are your Ds? Who are your Is? Who are your Cs? Who are your S's? And knowing how to balance, as Meny was saying, because what if someone is high D, high S, high C, high I? You know, now you can know if you got to go and put the metal, the plate to the metal, go a little faster in the conversation, more faster in your approach and your conversation. You know, maybe the task, you know, maybe you have a seller or a buyer as an example, you know, and you have to kind of collaborate and balance it out to ultimately be on the same page, because what's going to happen is if you don't, they're going to just run right by you. Okay. Or you're going maybe too fast and your clients are maybe a little slower. So how do you minimize it and ultimately balance it out? That's the importance of having these assessments, to really gauge and having a way to communicate based on these personality reports.
2 things. Number 1, I put in the chat, and whoever is watching, my email, it's meny@kw.com, meny@kw.com. Email me, mention which office you're with, so we're going to direct those reports back to your team leaders. Once again, it doesn't cost you anything, but our report is the one that we pay for, right? And again, if you don't want to go through us, go online, figure out whatever. It's going to be more of a lighter, maybe like 1 or 2 pages report. Going to give you that, you know, what is your disc, right? That's number 1. Number 2, I mean, that's another reason I appreciate the KW structure and business model, because we're all about providing value, but not just by talking about it, right? Also like actually doing it. And you know, they gave me, as a new agent, they gave me, hey, here's a disc. If you want to take it, it's going to help you to understand 1, 2, 3. And I thought I knew myself really, really well. I was very surprised after that, right? I didn't enjoy the disc at the beginning because it was too obvious, but then I adapted, you know, with humility, like what the strengths are, and I just went by it versus resisting it. So to my point is, you know, it's such a beautiful thing that we have going on, that we want to help one another to be better people just by understanding who we are and understand other people, how they are wired and how they're behaving, so we can be a better, you know, vessel for them as well, if it makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Other questions? If anybody has any questions.
I think there's a question there for you, Meny.
No, we went over that. No, I think, yeah, I already spoke about that. Thank you, Alexandra, for asking. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching us, and stay busy. It's a crazy market out there. Be well.